All right, guys. Well, the class purpose is just kind of bring you up to speed on clouds. It's not something you have to use, but it is in your arsenal, especially when you're either day trading or if you're looking for equities like I do on larger time frames. You guys can use the clouds, and I'm just going to explain a couple of setups that you can look out for on the clouds itself. So I'm going to start with defining the different type of clouds that you have. So I would say intraday clouds that you guys will go here in a second is the following time frames. So you will have 30-minute. Let's start with 1 hour, 30-minute, and then 15 minutes. These are the intraday clouds. Then swing or equities or whatever you want to call them, swing clouds would be 4 hour, daily, weekly, and then of course monthly clouds, right? And there's only few setups that you play, and you're looking for the clouds to be either open or close, and that kind of makes your case for bullish or bearish sentiment. And we'll cover the scenarios just see what they look like. There's two scenarios, and they're both bullish or bearish, right? So bullish, let's call it. Let's move this up so you guys can actually see it. So there's backdoor and money shot, and both have bull, bear, uh, bull, bear here. So both of them have a bullish setup and a bearish setup, right? Under indicators, you guys have the option to have the straight clouds, which is these right here. So if you're scalping intraday, and here's mine, 30-minute, 1 hour, and 15 minutes. I like to keep the 4 hours sometimes on because the 4 hours is basically an intraday cloud and can be used for a trend setting on if it goes outside and hits the back doors to go further. And if you think about back doors, it just means retests of support. Okay. And the money shot means the retests of resistance levels prior, and you're going in the direction that you're like headed, right? So if you're going down, you money shot inside, and then you're going to reverse usually the trend from there. So I'll give you guys scenarios, but important that you guys know the different time frames here on the clouds, and this is what they consist of, right? And when you join the Discord, I give you guys these clouds. I give you all the indicators, and I don't really take them away. You guys can keep them if you decide that the Discord's not the right thing for you. You get to keep them, and if you get to use them, that's great. If you don't get to use them, it's also great. I'm not gonna force you guys to use them, but it is a pretty cool tool. So with that being said, so let's just take a look, for instance, how Friday worked. And as I mentioned, right, these are the only clouds I have, 31 hour and 15 minutes. You guys can change the colors. So you have a better color coding, and you see here, for instance, the 15-minute clouds, purple, blue, and green. And then the darker color shading, as if you guys can tell here, tells you the actual, like if the cloud's closed, right? You see the purple on top does not have any shading, means the cloud's open. It can most likely go towards that. When you combine, let's say, when you combine intraday clouds, right, with higher time frame clouds, and we only show 4 clouds on this. Do you guys know how you can add more? If you just click copy and then you click paste, now you have this one. You could literally just enable these, but then you can enable the 4 hours, you can enable the daily, and then let's say the weekly here. You could do that this way, right? And then you could play around with color scheme and figure this out, but you're able to see straight clouds, where are we bouncing off of, right? In this case, you see the weekly top, and we bounced inside the 1530 close cloud, but we'll dissect that. That's one way you can set up intraday and multi-time frame clouds together, right? Let me delete this. If you go under the indicators, most of you guys should have, see, if you guys type in clouds, I think it's called Shorty clouds, these. If you guys click that and you, let's say, enable it, and then you click on their settings, you see how I have the daily cloud. I can even do, a few other ones. So if you do these are the clouds that follow. They're not straight. They will shift with the price, and they'll adjust levels like as you guys are seeing them. So like this purple one right now, let's see what purple we select to the color. This one has a lot of settings here.
You change any of that on the bottom, or just
Which ones?
the upper on inputs? I know you like you got the cloud options up.
Yeah,
Like,
you
do you
can
change?
change all of this, right? You can change all of these. I mean, you can select, unselect. You can change a lot of it. I just would not change any of the offsets now, uh,
Gotcha.
just because they're defaulted on a pretty good levels. I would keep it as they are. So let me focus on the straight clouds for a moment, just so you guys can follow. So when you guys go, I suggest you guys use Ashi candles for the clouds itself, right? So if you guys look here, uh, so if you look here, this is basically what happened. Like intraday at about 2 o'clock, you see how they, these are not extended, but we can make them look like this. They came in here and then the clouds basically got closed, meaning that there's a high potential that we're not going to go down intraday. If the clouds of 15, 30, and 1 hour are contained, if the price action is contained with those clouds, most likely you're going to have a D shape. You're going to have a balancing day in terms of the price action. And that's pretty much what they did, right? They went to the bottom of 15, the cloud closed, they found a lot of buyers. And I would say for various reasons, we knew that this was coming, right? There was a lot of single prints in this area. There was an imbalance in the footprint. So in confluence with other items that we, trade with, this would have been a pretty good setup to target, right? I was able to go along here and I was targeting 19, right? A little bit sooner here. It was quite a congestion at this level. I wasn't willing to play this up here, but I was able to take this trade. I did not use the intraday clouds. I was just using footprints and market profile to determine these levels, but this will give you another confluence. And sometimes when you add a lot of stuff on your chart, you can really get paralysis. Like, you freeze and you're like, man, this is telling me this is telling me that. You have to define, do you use clouds only? There's people that literally just use clouds in this Discord. And I'm not saying, it's the best or it's the worst. It's what you make out of it, right? I'm just giving you the setups. So what happened here, if you guys look at these clouds, does anyone know what this setup is? You go below the clouds and you come back, then you continue. Remember, there's only 4 different setups. Do you guys know what this is what this one was called? When you went above, came under.
70% roll.
No, cloud setup. So
Oh,
we
that's a
said,
bearish backdoor.
so you have money shot and then you have a backdoor, right?
I think money shot.
Yeah, that's called a money shot. And I'll give you an explanation of a money shot. So let's say this is a cloud. We'll just extend it here and give you a scenario. Okay. So let's say let's just say this is a higher time frame cloud. So if we are up above this price action and we're going, and then we go break inside the cloud, you're waiting for the retest here to come, and then you're targeting the middle of that cloud, which should be somewhere, let's say here. That would be your first level that you're targeting. So you can treat this almost as like a POC, volume profile or market profile as a target. This is your first one. Ultimately, they're going to go here. And this will be your second PT price target to take profits, right? And this right here would be called money shot. So this would be called bearish money shot here, meaning you went above the clouds and now you're getting back inside. And this would be called bearish money shot. This is important to know if you're using clouds because there's only 2 setups that you played, nothing else. The beauty of this is, and how this would work is, let's say that this cloud is closed. You see how it's filled in. This scenario here gives you a lot more probability that it's going to work if it's closed than if it's open. So whenever I see that there's a cloud we're under and we're doing a bearish money shot and this is closed, that's usually a money maker for myself. And if it's on daily or 4 hours on weekly, that's big. And what do you guys think a bullish money shot would look like?
The same thing in reverse.
Pretty much just
Break,
the opposite, right?
break
So
above, wait for retests.
we go here, and then this would be your first, right? And I would just copy this guy right here. And this would be your bullish money shot. Right? And ideally, in this scenario, you would want this cloud to be closed if you're getting the opportunity to go. Does that make sense? Like if this comes in and they go enough, they convert this cloud to be closed. When it comes back for a retest, that's a go ahead. When you can pretty much work that 9 out of 10 times, it does work, right? And this is your bearish money shot and bullish money shot. That means you went below the cloud, you reclaim it. Think about it as support, you reclaim it, but you have a little bit of more confidence when it's closed versus open, right? And then what do you guys think would be? Let me just copy this over so you guys have the scenarios. So now when you go onto the back doors, what do you guys think that is?
When you're inside and you fall out.
Yeah, so let's say you're trading in here and you go here on the first retest of this cloud, there's a high chance you're going to go higher. And this right here would be called bullish money shot here. And ideally, again, if the cloud is closed on the top, and if it has confluence with other clouds, that would be really, really, sorry, not money shot, bullish backdoor.
Okay, that is the backdoor, right?
That's correct. That's the backdoor. And then we'll do a bearish backdoor here.
So inside the cloud is like a money shot, and then if it's bouncing outside the cloud, it's a backdoor.
That's correct. That's correct. So now, if you think about this, so the price goes in a direction and then it comes back and then it resets. And that's right here would be your longs, your shorts. And here, these are more of reversal. If you think about bearish money shots are more of like a reversal play. You know, you see the exhaustion here, for instance, or some, let's say, supplies there. They fall inside the clouds and they basically reverse and they continue with the reversal all the way to the bottom of that cloud, with the mid being the target. And then the back doors, let's say you're in a trend, you're coming back, that usually leads to higher levels to hit, right? So bullish, bearish, bullish money. You see how bearish backdoor and bullish are kind of together, right? Once you reclaim this level, you do not want to short that, especially if it's higher time frame cloud. And then the same thing is here. You do not want to go long here, right? You want them to reclaim this level because it would give you a little bit more confluence that the traders and the buyers are ready to go higher. So a lot of people, when you think about, you know, when you just look at candles, for instance, here, look at regular candles. So does everybody have the idea how this works just before I move on? Everybody familiar with these four?
Yeah, Shorty.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
So now if you think of, yeah, go
Shorty,
ahead.
what's the difference as far as whether or not the cloud is open or closed?
Well, if it's closed, so let me go back. You want it to work in your favor. So if you're doing a bullish money shot and cloud is closed, that means price most likely won't go through that cloud again. So the way I use that is if I'm going long here, I can, if the cloud's not super wide, sometimes they can get super wide, especially if we consolidate it for a long period of time. You can put your stop loss here, for instance, and you use the clouds to protect yourself. So if I'm going long and I'm doing this, then you're thinking about something like this, right? I can put my stop loss right below the cloud and target the top of the cloud. So closed clouds, you're not going to get through. If this cloud on the top is closed, you can ask people in Discord, I've seen it. There's a low chance you're going to go through it, especially when your MACD is over -1 on the clouds itself. So like, for instance, if you look here, first cloud is 30 minutes. We'll do all clouds here. We'll show them. So here's like you see this third cloud was positive 124. And third cloud happens to be the 15 minutes. So if I hide these, now just pay attention to the 15. I'm just going to remove this and you'll see here. So the 15-minute is closed. And now pay attention to what happened. They went and look at the retest, right? You do not want to trade below it. Once they regain this, you're watching for an entry. And look what they did. Your first target, did they stall? They stalled. And then what did they hit?
TP2.
Yep.
So they went all the way from the bottom. And this is called the cycle of completion on the Keltner channel. So you went from the bottom of the ATR range to the top of the ATR and you tested on 15 minutes. You can use daily clouds for swing points, right? I strongly, would not advise they use 15-minute clouds, 30 or 1 hour to make a decision whether you swing something overnight, right? So if you think about this, let's enable these. I'll just hide this one.
So that there's your bullish money shot, right, Shorty?
Yeah, this is bullish money shot, 100% on 15 minutes, right? So if you go here, look at the 16-minute bottom. You guys see this? This is your 1 hour cloud and it's closed, right? And now when I turn on the 15-minute, right? Here's your 15-minute. So 15-minute and 15-minute are both closed. And then when I turn on this one here, here's your 30. When you have these clouds that are closed at this point, when you're coming in and they close, there's a high chance you're going to make money on this. And you're just using simply 4 setups. And if you want to learn more about it, right, it would not be bad that you try one day, literally just the clouds, select the 3 clouds and look at the price action, how we do. If you're able to break the 15-31 hour, there's a high chance you're going to have a trend day, right? And I don't think we can show these clouds in the past. But if you have, the ability to see this during the day, if you want to try it out and see how it works, you would see some pretty cool stuff and how it functions, right? So for instance, you're consolidating here. There's a lot of, you can call this almost like a liquidity grab or a market maker, spraying on the Wyckoff. They went below, they tapped the liquidity. We talked about the level that was big here, but then this gives you an additional confluence to go long, right? And anyone that shorted here got destroyed on Friday, right? Because we were really, really fast to get out of that zone. Okay. If you're using this for swings, let's say you're looking for equities, right? Well, you can go this. I would probably start with the weekly cloud, and then I would also look at the monthly cloud if I'm looking for stocks, for instance, that I want to purchase. So we'll use something bigger. And if you're on the daily and monthly clouds, I suggest that you time frame that you're on increases, right? So I'm looking at weekly and monthlies, go on the higher time frames, and I like to use kind of Keltner channels to do this. So now look what's happening here. What is the setup that's happening on ES on the weekly?
Bullish backdoor.
Bullish backdoor.
This is a bullish backdoor. So a lot of people are probably like, oh crap, we're going down. Well, until you crack this 52.57, they can go in here and they can basically sell off in here. And then until this cloud opens, just pay attention. We are now going to go lower. Right. And then if you have the figures, let's say the first cloud's a weekly, and you see here, for instance, first cloud here, weekly, negative, second cloud is positive here. And that's our monthly cloud. I mean, that one is really, really positive. So here's
if they don't break into the cloud up top, is that bullish?
Well, that's correct. That's bullish backdoor. That's very bullish what they did here.
Right.
So now, most likely, we're going to trend higher unless something happens with the war or some news come in and they really sell off. They need to lose this level here to go lower, 52.58. And then you would target somewhere around 50.70, right? You probably have a little bit of a confluence here with these high volume nodes that I would watch for. But ultimately, you would be targeting somewhere all the way here to 50.70, and then eventually, not saying now, they're going to have to complete the cycle here on, let's say, when I click on 3 days. So you see how we've completed this since, I guess, January. We completed the bullish cycle up on the monthly. We went above. We had the monthly backdoor here, right? That's retest here. Monthly backdoor, and now you're trying to go here on the weekly. So, and this cloud happens to, when you look at it on higher time frames right now, so let's say on daily, right? Are we above this?
No.
So they got to crack this right now. What is it? 53.56 if they want this price action to go. They really need to crack this to proceed, go higher. And then, I mean, you could definitely find the next targets, right? Whether you're using fibs or whatever your method is. So you'll be looking at, wow, that was perfect. 55.60, that's pretty good. So if they're able to do something like this, then you're looking for this for a retest to go long. Right now, you're risk to reward, especially if this cloud's -10 right here, the first weekly, is not in your favor to, to go. And I wouldn't use 65 minutes on weekly clouds. I'd probably use daily on the weekly clouds myself. Does that make sense? You want higher time frame candles on the higher time frame. I'm only looking at weekly and monthly. I should not be anything below daily in terms of candles. So if for them to crack this, they would need significant volume and significant buying to occur here. But as of right now, you see how we completed the backdoor on a monthly. Basically, they went above, and that's your bullish backdoor on a monthly, and they went here. Usually, bullish backdoors have a little bit more power than equal highs. So it'll be interesting if they can crack this 53, 56. Then you're expecting the next targets to be here and here, that whatever that level was, 50 something, 55, 60. Okay.
Jordan,
And then
Do you know if replaying works on this when you run a
have no
replay?
idea, man. I have no
Okay.
idea, honestly. I don't even have to use replay that much, that well. And then if you look at, for instance, individual stocks, like I'm targeting Starbucks here. Here's your look at the clouds and what they did, right? So if you look at the monthly cloud right here, and if you just kind of extend it for a moment. So look what they did. I mean, they went above. They went above, they came back inside the cloud, and now they went below. They completed the full cycle from the top all the way to the bottom, and now they're doing what? What's the setup that they're executing now on a monthly time frame?
Money shot,
Careful.
right? Oh, sorry, backdoor.
Bearish backdoor on a monthly, right? So then if I want to find the equities, right? Let's say I want to know, well, obviously, unless you reclaim this here at 82, if they reclaim 82, you can catch 95, right? That's not what I'm looking for. So let's say I want to find quarterly, right? 3 months. Well, the quarterly would be a really good entry for me. 65.38 if they're able to come here. And now we'll just draw a horizontal line so we can see. Then you see, how's this level been treated before. So let's go on 7 days. And you see here, it might be of some importance, right? And you see that they can also go to the bottom. And I remember, just based on volume profile and what I'm expecting, this would be a desired level for me on this stock, right? There's a major POC sitting all the way about 57. So if they start coming 65, can I start an entry position on shares? Yeah, definitely. I would start buying here. If they dip here, I would add a little bit more. Can they go to the bottom here? Yeah, this would be the area where they would accumulate. And then if you look at the potential accumulation distribution setup, right? So they accumulated here. They had a markup and a test. They came back. They bought a lot more, and they, COVID, and then they ran it up. And if you think about similar setups that have happened before on the same, take a look at this.
Oh wow.
Is it identical setup that Starbucks is executing? Here's your accumulation, right?
Yep.
And if you extend it, look at the 3-month bottom. If you want to buy Amazon here, go for it, man. It's a really good deal. You're going to be crying shortly afterwards.
Would you say Amazon might soon give an opportunity for like a bearish money shot?
I mean, just look at the clouds, for instance, right here. You are in a monthly closed cloud right now. So you're in a, let me change this one to a monthly so you can see it. Your 3-month cloud is closed. The chance of you breaking this, if they peak above and fail, it becomes a really good entry. And even here, some longer data puts on Amazon probably do some magic for you. I'm talking about buy a leap for $100 puts for May 2025. It probably shouldn't be that expensive because you're anticipating a massive drop, right? So let's say you do something like this. This would be a pretty significant drop, right? So you're talking about 44% pullback, right?
Sure.
So it's not, I don't know how expensive they are, right? Without looking, but I would not anticipate them to be very expensive. And same thing that they did here. So now if you think about it, just reverse the psychology here. So they accumulated, they had the markup, they distributed. I mean, this was such a long distribution. I remember it. 671, 2 years they distributed here, and then they went lower. They came here. Now, similar setup that they did here, reversing, right? They accumulated, they brought it back. Now they're back to the distribution, and you see when you look at the clouds, did they crack above this distribution? Because that would mean that we're going above where we accumulated and sold off massively before. And if you combine that, let's say with some volume, and you just look at regular candles here for a moment, and I'm on 7 days. Is there any massive buying here?
Not at all.
There's no
No.
buying. I mean, you look at this candle here, there's no anomalies. There's a little bit of pickup on selling here on this one. So once they lose this level of 180, it's at least a quick drop to 160, and that happens within 4 weeks, right? So that's how I would look at these clouds on higher time frames. I don't like to buy necessarily here on longer equities. Like, I'm not interested in buying here. I actually had Amazon here, right? So it's not a bad, way to accumulate some stocks using these, right? So if you guys have any names, what's the Tesla? So Tesla, I have a lot of drawings. So for instance, here's Tesla coming here off the monthly bottom, came back, and look where it rejected just recently. To a penny, came back, right? So now I see a lot of bullish posts on Tesla, right? I've seen them a lot lately. They can stay in this range right here for a bit, right? They can stay in between these, and then they're gonna make a direction if they go above or below. I don't know which way they're gonna go, but this is a major supply that they're in. And if you look here, they can't even get inside this value above 205. So if they're able to crack this zone, let's say this little zone right here, if they're able to crack this zone here, then you're targeting 260. That's actually not bad, right? I mean, $50 on Tesla, and it moves quick. You guys know it can probably execute this within a week or so. So that's kind of how I would look at it. But right now, to buy it here in the middle of nowhere, I have no interest, right? I mean, for me, I would prefer, honestly, to get it somewhere in the bottom in these clouds monthly, and look where the quarterly bottom is. It's way down, right? And as of right now, I mean, I'm just thinking fundamentally, is Tesla doing any better than any other EV car company out there? Maybe they have more sales and whatnot, right? But it's not a differentiator like it presented itself to investors that it's a tech company, right? The margins are not showing that. So. Let's see, what was the other one? Like Shopify, I saw that it took a dump, right? And a lot of people are bullish on Shopify, and especially our friend Jake. I saw him post that this is going to bounce because it's on the major trend line. So sure, it can bounce here, but do you guys really think that, and you see here, this is your monthly middle right here. Is there a chance that they're going to bounce here? Yes. What do you think their target is?
$80.
3-month bottom.
Bottom.
They're going to be here, man. 37, they're headed here. It doesn't matter what your fucking trend line says. Right? This would be a very good bullish money shot on the monthly. And all these people that buy this trend line, what are they going to do here when it breaks? They bought on the trend line.
Stop it.
They're going to stop, and then they're going to freak out. And then here they're going to buy puts. We're going to come here and we're going to catch a big old rocket.
So Shorty, these clouds, like if it's a weekly cloud, the open and close will happen once in a week, right?
That's correct. It basically recalculates on a weekly basis. On 3 months, it takes 3 months worth of data, and it calculates if it's open or closed. The time frame indicates how frequent it updates.
Thanks, Shorty.
Yeah, and then here you guys are able to see, like, once the 3 month here, there's not much cloud. So let me just add 1 month, 3 months. I'll add weekly here. I'll add even the daily for purpose of demonstrating. So if you look here, so now you can kind of make a story. You rejected the 3 months aggressively. I would say do you guys see any levels in between weekly and the 3 month top? Was there any levels identified by the clouds here?
No.
Whenever you have a gap
No.
like this between the clouds, like this one here, is the stock's just gonna fly. Like it literally will just rocket through these spaces. When you have congestion like you have here, and pay attention how the price reacts to these lines, do you see how much bullshit price action you're getting here? You're getting a lot of price action because there's nothing. And now if you crack this level, where do you go?
Down fast.
You're just gonna accelerate really, really fast. Right? And then it happens a lot. I mean, I've seen it. Here's Spotify. I don't even know if this company is alive. Well, obviously they are. They're just getting, wow. So here's your Spotify at 3 month bottom. So this happened in December of 22, and look what it hit.
To the penny.
I mean, it hit to the penny, and you put in, let's just say you bought $500 worth here, which is not a lot of money. Most of you guys can handle that. Just multiply that by 334%. Like,
Or like, I wonder what Leaps did, honestly.
I'm sure. I mean, golly, like
God, that had to go. Yeah.
a couple of 1,000%, I would think. I mean, you could check some historical data and see, but you know, right now, if you look at this, is this the area that I'd be looking to long this? No, everything's at the 3 months top, and they rejected it here. So this is how I would look at, you know, the equities, and like for instance, the one I have quite a bit. Like if you look at Pfizer, look at this.
Please show me more good news about Pfizer.
Say it again.
I said, please tell me more good news about Pfizer.
I'm not worried about it, honestly. If I was worried, I would have been selling right now, but let's take a look at it. So here's your weekly, daily, and 3 months bottom. And once you clear what level, where do you fly? So let's take a look. Once you clear this level right here, you're going to hit this, but ultimately you're targeting 41. I mean, that's almost, I would say, close to 100%, depending on where you got it, right? So you're talking about 65% from the bottom here to the top, right? And then if they crack this level, then you're looking at another spike all the way down to 54. In the meantime, I just collect dividends. That's all I do.
Yeah, I just got paid too.
Okay. So this is higher time frames. I like to use them, and you know, can you use them on indexes and ETFs? Yeah, definitely. So here's what they did on. Look what they did on the SPY here. I mean, this just looks like a horrific chart on higher time frames. But here's your 1 monthly bottom. They came back. They gave you a nice retest, and they proceeded. They hit the middle, and then they went higher, and then you see some congestion. They're going, and now they're at some major levels, right? This is fairly big. And if I was to look at this, see, what does the 6 months chart say? 6 month top, bottom. So, I mean, they're out of this 6 month cycle completely, which is pretty extended. Then you look at the extreme. This is your 12 month stop. They're about pretty much about every true range that they can be on. And when you look at volume, when you look at the buying activities that are happening, here's your month of May, right? With the bullish engulfing candle here with volume. That's pretty pathetic considering that we don't have a lot of time left in this. I think we have a holiday, right? Don't we have a holiday coming up in May? So you have 10 days of trading left in May. All right, so
Yeah, Memorial Day.
I would be careful here with a lot of longs, right? Just because you're coming up, the weekly top's closed, and you can see how close is that. That's 3, so not very close, right? you want it to be above -1 or +1 to consider the clouds closed, right? -1s matter on the top, +1s matter on the top because we're looking for these bullish backdoors and entries to go long. Let's say QQQ, for instance. And ooh,
So -1 and +1 for the cloud to be closed properly.
that's correct. Above is, yeah, man,
Yeah.
this just looks. Yeah, let's see what tomorrow brings. But this might not be a very bad long day to put some Qs, guys. Like they came here and now the clouds closed on -1.6. They're still trending higher, like really nicely, but it would be really interesting to see what they do here at the top of these clouds. Okay, so does this help you guys with the clouds? For intraday, like I said, I would definitely change this to smaller time frames, right? 31 hour, 15 minutes. And sometimes you guys will see me talk about 5-minute cloud. It's just a devil cloud, honestly. Like I hate 5 minutes. I don't use it. It's impossible sometimes to see a break. So I hate to see it because I feel like the cloud always is against me personally. Like I feel like it just never lets me go. And you see this is your 5-minute cloud. Usually the break of 5-minute cloud top bottom triggers a major move also to the 1531 hour. And you see 5-minute top here stopped, 5-minute bottom reclaimed go. And it happens quite a bit. Here's your SPY 5-minute as well. Pretty crazy cloud. For scalping, you could definitely use, I would say, the 5-minute to trade. Above it, target the top, and so on. And I think you could make some, let me see, yes. So here's your 5-minute bottom. So the 30 gave you a bounce, and then a better entry here is reclaim a 5, go to the top, and you see that they're stacked on the top here. Whenever you see something like this on the clouds where they're overlapping, higher chances that they're not going to crack, especially if you see if any of them were shaded red or darker color, that would mean that it's closed. And you see how all these lines, the middle of the clouds, look how they acted as a nice little support, right? Like they came here and they basically acted as a major support here. So, 5322, 19, even if you took this long, to the top of the 5 cloud, if you missed this entry, you could go there. If you combine this, for instance, with VWAP, right, that we use, where's my VWAP? So we use a little bit of a VWAP that's slightly different than most, right? Because we use standard deviation slightly different as well. And then hopefully it shows up today. Sure, why is it not showing up? Okay, so here's a weekly VWAP. Let's just change this one. So here's the daily VWAP now when you guys are looking at the little yellow line. If you combine this, right, with the standard deviations that it has in there, it might be some good confluence setups when you're trading clouds. You obviously had trouble breaking it to the upside, and they broke it. They gave you nice retests when you have some targets to the top side if you're scalping with these clouds. Okay. Any questions on clouds from anyone? And this is how I find, you guys see me run those scans for you guys when we do it once a month on the stocks, right? I do find, I found the NVW and Newell Brands was, let me see, delete this. Like it was on the bottom of the clouds as well on higher time frames. So it was like monthly, what's the quarterly? Table these. And you see kind of what where we acquired some of this, right? So we came here. So now till they break the top of this cloud, you see, once they break 9, they can quickly go, 10, and then ultimately we would target like 14, and that'll be almost 100% on this equity itself. I think my average is somewhere here. So you're talking about 100% gain on a $7 stock, which is not bad. So you have to play with it. You have to see how it works. And then eventually you have to start trusting it. I think we also got Wolf. I still have Wolf. Here's your Wolf 1 monthly bottom here is kind of starting to accumulate. Once we crack this, let's say 26.35, the doors are pretty open, right? I know some of you guys are watching INTC. But you see here, and I think we talked about this one, that we're aware of where it needs to go. But if it was to come into this area of $24 or so, even volume profile wise, I know that there's quite a bit of stuff at that level, right? So if they're able to come there, let's say in the bottom of this cloud, that's an easy, at least add for me. And you see them now defending, obviously, the value area high of this massive since 96. So they're trying to set prices that they go back 18, 20 years. Okay. Any questions on clouds? And if you don't have the clouds by any chance, you can either upload it into a Google Sheet or just message me your TradingView username. And I'll be happy to add these clouds for you. You can get the straight, or if you want the squiggly ones as well, which is this one here. It's the same clouds. It's just that they're going to show you the price action. So if you look here, here's the weekly top and the bottom, and then you can of course change these as well. So if I do monthly clouds here, you'll see that as well. Here's your monthly bottom, and you see how it kind of corresponds to it as well.
Can you
just-
look at? Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Can you look at FFIE on a really short time frame on these charts, or with this tool?
This one?
No, FFIE. Faraday future. FFIE.
This one?
Yeah. It had some crazy momentum.
Oh man, it had a lot of volume.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know if like you showed this on a really small time frame for something like this, like a short squeeze sort of scenario like this, will it show anything, or will it just look like it blasted through the clouds?
See, so I'll just add quarterly for a moment. I mean, it was compressed, right? You see how tight the clouds get. So
Yeah.
whenever clouds are tight, that's usually indicating, a major short squeeze coming. And if you look at these yellow clouds, I believe that's your daily. I mean, there was no space left here, so it had to explode to one level. Usually short squeezes and these levels, when you see something, so, the difference between the clouds that I use and let's say Bollinger Bands is that they use, Keltner uses average true range and the Bollinger Bands use standard deviations. And a squeeze happens when the Bollinger Band enters inside the Keltner channel. That's actually a definition of a squeeze. So when the Bollinger Band hops in here, and I don't know if I have any.
I've been looking for this answer for years.
So if you look at Bollinger Band, for instance, once the Bollinger Bands are inside this cloud, like let's say here, you see how they got in a little bit and then they rode. And then as soon as they pop outside or get in on a bigger time frame, that's going to trigger a squeeze 9 out of 10 times. Definition of a squeeze is Bollinger Bands inside Keltners.
Thank you.
Yeah, but this is just crazy. I don't know what this is, but that's there's quite a bit of volume there. I mean, look at this.
Electric car company.
The Chinese electric car company. It wants to be $5,000.
Yeah. Well, here's your other Chinese car company. That's the Neo. Isn't this Chinese as well?
Yep.
It is.
So here's your Neo. Look where it bounced. Motley bottom. So as long as it holds this area here, it's actually not bad. And when you talk about AMC, for instance, I think we've actually looked at AMC before. I did this crazy thing when we talked about it, that, you know, it was at the monthly bottoms. It came up a few times, if you guys remember. It came on our clouds and then Peloton, if you guys remember, was also on our level. And look at this on Peloton. I mean, literally, remember when we said not bad to buy some loose change on Peloton and some calls, like $5-7 calls? Off the monthly bottom, and here's that, right? It came in right to the bottom of this and then exploded higher. So whenever something, especially if it's closed, guys, I mean, think about it, 291 to 5. I don't know if many people would not like it. Even if you put $500, you just doubled your money on a fairly low investment, right? If you do that quite a bit of times, right, you double that, that's your money compounds really fast.
Shorty, what's the differences between these straight clouds and then the carry-on clouds? Like, which one should I use, basically? Like, I have like 2 clouds, and I just sometimes confuse which tool I should be using.
What's a carry-on cloud?
The one that has, like you said, has the price actions, price movement.
Oh,
The
it's
other
just stability. They give you the same levels. It's just how it looks, right? Some people. So I like that when I turn on intraday clouds, like the 15-31 hour, I like them straight. I like to see it right, simple and clean on the chart. When I want to look at higher time frames, right, and see how the price has. So here's your, you look at the weekly bottom matches to the monthly on the weekly bottom here as well. So you could definitely kind of change them, right? So if I go here and it's just a preference of how it looks, I would say. There's no difference. So here's all the clouds, for instance, on, what is this, Peloton. You see how the weekly matches here, and then you have the monthly bottoms. So it's just how it looks, nothing else to it. And you can look at this on SPY, maybe it would look better. So I just don't like a lot of lines like this on my chart. So that's why I came up with the straight clouds to give me a level.
The straight clouds also seem to not make the chart lag a whole lot if you have like a lot of candles and a lot of garbage all over it.
Yeah, I just don't like too many lines on the chart. It's just I guess, aesthetics preference for myself.
Got it. So it's just at that particular day, it will carry on those level and draw it for a time period, and then that's how it shows.
That's correct.
I see. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on clouds? Is there anyone that's confused on how to use them? And I would combine, honestly, if I was trading and scalping off of these, I would just look at the 15, the 30, and then I would use the 1 hour. I would use this, and I would combine this with VWAP, and I would trade that. And you could probably use it 5 minutes to trade, right? And I'll probably stick with Ashis on these clouds. And now if you see, for instance, SPY, just pay attention. For instance, let's see, it's weak, right? It's not a hard close, but let's see when they get there, they peak above. Just pay attention to the clouds and see. It doesn't take a lot to scalp this, right? And then if you add VWAP to it, I think you might make your scalping a little bit better in terms of how it works. Let me see.
Also, just a quick question. What's the reasoning for the 0.13 standard deviation?
So if you go and test it, right? I've tested it quite a bit. If you test the standard deviation, typically that's where the traps are set below these clouds on the VWAP, right? Sometimes they crack it and they'll come into the edge of that, and they use that basically to get you out of the trade or into a trade, and then they bounce on the 0.13 of that cloud. So when I tested it, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm shorting here, I want to know where's this so I don't get this, right? So let's say if I'm taking this line short, the actual VWAP, I don't want to be stopped. And then the more you tested it, I realized that 0.13 at one point, it was like 0.21, that it creates that little cloud and a buffer on the bounces or rejections. You can definitely change it, right? So if you go here.
I see. Yeah, I see 0.13 works a lot. Like they just touch exactly to the 0.13 and then they bounce already. Like they don't touch VWAP.
Yep.
So that's the reason I wanted to ask, because I see it in action so many times.
Yep. And that's why I pretty much came up with the idea of adding a little bit more standard deviation on the clouds than not, right? Because it makes it easier. Let's see, here's your, and if you guys have this cloud that I just talked about, where is it? Orbit VWAP. So with this one, you have the ability to set like different clouds, right? Current week, you could do current year, right? You could show different clouds and see how they respond. So here's, for instance, I believe this is our yearly, right? Cloud VWAP here, and you see here, they came back, tested it nicely and proceeded higher.
Yeah. It's like no doubt it works. It just I'm curious how you came up with the number. That's it, because I don't think 0113 is anything, standard deviation wise or fib wise, I guess.
Oh, no, it wasn't. It was just based on you test it, right? So if you just remove these standard deviations, let's say if you remove the offsets right here and you put them at 0, you're only going to see a line. And then I was like, okay, well, how come every time I get into these trades, like here, let's say you're shorting and it's like, man, it just dips, but it bounces a certain level. So if you go back and you add,
Yes, it's just you back test it and find a perfect number. Yeah.
you'll see what works for you. At one point I said I had 21, and I don't know, maybe it's back to that level of trading, right? So if you look here, you see how 21 did a pretty good job on containing this, and it increases about $3 on up and down by itself. And for some people, right, if you're trading swings, that's not bad. I mean, $3 stop loss and SPY is reasonable.
Yeah, and then also just like the golden pocket, you use 70.5 instead of the yeah.
And you just play with the market, right? So if we think about, for instance, what happened on this bounce right here, and I'm just going to go on 65 minutes. So if you think about from here to here, right, you want to see where are we bouncing, right? We'll just go with different template. So here's your retracements of this move, and you see here they came back perfectly to 61.8. And here, if you're getting on 61.8, well, you can use a stop loss right below this 70.8. ES on Friday did quite a bit of trades on this level, guys. I don't know if you guys paid attention to it. Let me just do this. Where is that? So here's Friday. So I think we did, I forgot what, I think one point maybe we did something like this. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, that was where you short 33 contract. I remember that.
So they came back a few times to these levels and they're not able to crack this, right? So let's say you're shorting the 61.8 and you're playing this. I mean, they never really cracked it until they did, right? And then they proceeded a little higher. And typically, if you're in a consolidation like we are in now at the top, we'll kind of, is any questions on clouds before we move forward? I just want to make sure you guys at least know how to use it. So higher time frames, you want to use 4 hours, you want to use daily, weekly, monthly, or higher, right? Depending on what you're doing, equities or intraday or trading. For intraday, you want to use 15, 30, 1 hour. And then if you like 5 minutes, I just hate the cloud personally, but you can definitely use it. Any questions clouds wise? There's only 2 plays that are bull bear on both sides.
No, thank you, Shorty.
No, thank you. Do you want us to send our trading view username in the Discord chat?
Yeah, just message me privately and I'll add her after this class and we'll go from there.
Do we have to add you to do that? Or
say it again?
Do we have to add you to message you?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Honestly, don't know.
Oh, for Discord, as long as we're in the same Discord, you can just click Shorty's name and then send message to him, just like that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
If you look at ES, for instance, just fibs wise, does anyone not know how to use fibs?
Just swing high, swing low, right?
Or swing low, swing high.
Yeah.
When? Does anyone know when you use swing high, swing low versus swing low, swing high?
Could you go through it?
Yeah. So let's kind of look at it just because it happens a lot on intraday, especially in balanced markets. Typically what I do, and I'll give you what I do right here. So if I'm looking for support, I'm looking to find a nice swing high to swing low, right? And if you see here, we consolidated for some time, right? And then we cracked out of this level. So for me, I would use something like this from here to the top, and I would look to find where's the support. When you're looking for support on fibs, right, you're using low to high, right? If you're looking for resistance, you're using high to low. And what that means is swing low to swing high for support, and then swing high to swing low for rejection or resistance. Does that make sense? So now if I'm looking to find this, I could go literally from this point to this point. And if it's not hitting on these levels that I have, 50, 61, 8, well, what that usually means is that you want to be aware where the 0.382 is. You guys know why?
That's what 1 minus the 0.618.
That's correct. So if that's the minus, this would show that this trend is pretty strong, right? When you're bouncing on 382, that means this trend is pretty aggressive, and they're not dipping to the discount value, which is considered to be the 50%. And if I want to know where's the resistance.
Hang on a minute. I'm in my class, okay? You gotta give me a minute. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I'm like,
So if you look, for instance, from swing high, I would say the swing low here is pretty good, right? And you see that we are hitting that 50% mark on the discount, right? And knowing what you know, let's say about maybe market profile or volume profile. So let's take a look at that, right? So I'm just gonna switch here to the left because I can't use it on the right. And what are we in right now?
Three days.
This is a 3-day balance, right? I mean, you're accumulating at the top, right? And you're above the 50, I'm sorry, above the POC here. So let's say you crack this level here, 5327, what can you expect to hit? Would I wanna
Yeah, very.
longs right here? Probably not. Right? Especially when you're, coming to a value area high of 3 days first sig. It's not something that you wanna be, I would say, price discovering yourself. You want to see them, if they can go above here and lose it and then catch the opposite. Because right now the market is in a balance for 3 days. So that's how you can definitely use fibs and confluence, right? And you can use this if you're scalping on smaller time frames. Fibs work great, right? I mean, you can use this on many swing high, swing lows, especially when there's a little bit of a trend. You don't want to use it necessarily when you're doing this, right? I don't think fibs are helpful when you're doing a bunch of crap inside here. But you can definitely use it on trend days, right? When you're trending up, I like to use 30 minutes for these. And you can see how are we doing, right? So for instance, if I wanted to know, between this, let's say between this level right here and this level, why are we rejecting here? What would I do? On fibs.
Jar from the top to the bottom, swing high to swing low.
So let's do that. And then let's take a look, see where they reject. And here's where they rejected, right? So I'm just gonna shift this for you guys. So here, now look where they rejected, right? 61.8 to a penny, they came back. So if you took this short in a trend downs, like when you're trending down, like we are here, I'm sorry, lower highs, lower lows, lower high, lower lows, you usually want to target 61.8 for rejections, right? Then once we stop, we find some buyers like we did here, right? We were basically looking to stop the selling, and they did, right? And they proceeded higher. Now you're looking to see where are you gonna go and buy, right? So if this is the level, that's what I was talking about earlier, just moments ago. This would be the level you're targeting somewhere here, and you see that they came back to 318. And now you have opposite also. I would not necessarily look to be shorting quickly here off the fibs because it seems like that they're going to try it and push this a little bit higher. Right. And then you can do this if you're using daily fibs, right? Don't expect the levels to hit, I would say on 5 minutes. Sometimes it won't happen, right? So if I'm looking at this swing low to this swing high, take a look what happened here, right? So typically, they will defend 50% because that's where the differentiation of discount versus, non-discount. I like to buy 61.8 as much as I can because usually the algos like to trade that themselves. So now if I'm looking here, I probably would have missed this trade if I was waiting for this opportunity to buy. Is there many confluences here with psychological 5,000 whatnot, of course, right? But you can definitely use this, even for projecting, right? When I'm projecting extensions, you can do this multiple ways, right? You can use fib retracements, but when you're looking for targets, you have to go opposite, meaning I got to grab from the high to the low to find the upper extensions. And I have it pretty much saved here so I can look. Now you see that my target here was, 4773 and 495. And I would say both levels did it pretty good when you zoom in. They came back, they rejected, they accumulated right at the level. They rejected this level perfectly, then they went higher. So you could use extensions the same way, right? On the bullish side or the bearish side, right? So if you look here, for instance, you accumulated in this area, right? So if you go here and let's say I want to find where can we go to, well, I can grab from this, let's say this swing low to this swing high. Like this, and basically you would play the levels, whatever, if it works. So here's this, so you guys can see it, and you see tapped, and it danced pretty much on this level since then. And I only use 2 fibs for extension targets. So some people have a lot. I only use 127 and 1618. You can also use standard deviations, right? So if I want to know, if the move is doubling or what is it doing, right? So I can click here and I think I have fib standard deviations here, and you see how it has, 200% of this move happened here. The next level here would be three times the move. And typically at 3 times the standard deviation, that's pretty crazy, right? That's when you think about the bell curve, 3 standard deviations is a lot. What the hell is and here's your SPX, for instance. If you're looking, let's say, on weekly chart, we basically had the run since October, and here's a minor pullback. If I wanted to know where was this going, right, you could definitely use, retracements from here, right? And you see the 6126 would be the 100% of this move. If I wanted to use extensions and figure out where are we going next, it looks like 5623 would be on the higher time frames, the next level that they're aiming for. And that's just using fibs itself. And then also you can use this on any, I would say, smaller time frame, right? So if you're looking at this, for instance, you can use it from here to here, from here to here to find this. And I would say fibs are not a bad tool because a lot of programs and algorithms use the same stuff, right? You can't really manipulate it, maybe different percentages, but 61.8 is a golden fib. So I would say most of the time you're looking for rejections somewhere in this area, right? Okay. So what are you guys thinking about for this week?
Shorty, really,
Mhm.
really quick. Would you grab the wick for the
Yeah.
like? You would grab the wick? Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes when I'm trading differently, right? I'll grab. Sometimes you guys see me probably. I will grab to find where's the potential buyers. Remember, the wicks on the top or bottom mean typically other time frame people are coming in, like in this one here. So usually when other time frame people come in, what they do here, so if you go here, probably have a 50%. Usually if I'm going long here, I don't want them to crack below the 50% of this. So let's say I go long here at 52.85. I wouldn't want them to crack below this, and that could be your stop loss, right?
Oh, the 50% of the wick.
Of the wick, right?
Wow. Okay.
Other time frame buyers should not give that much discount. So like for instance here, when they stepped in at 3, whatever this is, 330, 350, I'm sorry, if you went in, let's say long right here, right, you had a pretty good, reward, right? So if I wanted to find, let's say I wanted to find this level on the fibs, I could use something like this, and that's our 50% right there. But they're pretty, they want the value. You went here, and if you're scalping 3 points, that's not bad. And then if I wanted to know on this entry, how would you know your stop loss? Well, you could play, if you play the 61.8, you could do this and put the stop loss right below. So if I use my, hold on, I'm gonna grab the long one. So let's say I went long. If I went long here and I did this, how would I find the target? How would I find this level here?
Use an extension.
Okay, from where to where?
From 100%. So you would have 1.27.618.
Okay, so let's do, I do this and I do extensions, and here's your first level would be here. Second level would be here. Considering that you're getting this trade, this is where the time and opportunity come into play. You're getting this trade at 3 minutes before close. You want to be cautious how much, targets you have, right? It's probably be a good target on a scalp to take it all, right? I don't know, they can hit 305, but as a cautious trader, you should probably 2 minutes before close it all there, right? But that's how I use fibs, and sometimes I, especially in balance when we have these peaks, I like to use the fibs to see what are they doing, right? So here, it's not a bad idea to kind of look at this here and see what is happening in terms of fibs the 3 days. Okay. All right. Well, I'm just gonna look at that market real quick, and we'll hold a session tonight just to kind of update, see how they open.
Could you give a? I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. Could you
No,
could you give a brief explanation between the ashi candle or regular candle?
So on ashi candles, let's see if anyone catches. Where does the next candle open on ashi candles?
In the middle of the previous candle?
Always in the middle of the previous candle. So if you guys go, if you go on the 50% of this candle here, it opens there every time, right? And you see that this one here, I can't even draw the fib, sorry. Between this one, 50% always opens there. So basically the Ashi's candle used prior candle to determine the open on the next candle. That's why you don't have gaps on Ashi candles. Okay, and it's pretty much your momentum, right? If you're able to reclaim the 50% here and hold it, bullish, right? So then the same thing happens on any time frame. If you look at daily, for instance, probably the best to do it. And you see where we open here, right? You see we open at 52.81, and now if they want to crack above, let's say this level, whatever this is, 53.07. I mean, then they are targeting probably on Ashi's 53.25 here. On this is SPX though. So it's momentum, and they're always open in a half of the body of the previous candle. You can test it and it'll work every time.
So what's the specific purpose for using it, I guess?
Ashi candles are momentum. They can keep you in the trade longer, right?
Okay.
Instead of being shaken out. So for instance, if you have major levels, let's say you're scalping using 1 minute, right? So let's say you're looking from this swing high to this, to the top now for tomorrow, right? Ashi candles can save you from, I would say, from trouble where you might freak out. On a regular candle, this might look like it's going to close below. On Ashi's, it might not happen because it's taking the open of a previous candle at 50%. So it's assuming every price action starts at 50% of the prior candle.
You'll
So
see
usually,
you'll see more consecutive candles of the same color.
Yeah. you see how when trend changes, the candles also drastically shift, right? So for instance, if you look here, you consolidated and you came back. So just pay attention to, for instance, here. And like here, somebody might be going in. I would say, oh man, we're going long. We're back inside here. And then when you look at this and you zoom out, what happens here? There's sellers here, there's wicks, there's not enough strength here, like to close inside of this. And they immediately brought it back inside. And now you look at this, look. I don't know. You can stay in a trade much longer with Ashis or out of it, right? When you're looking at the momentum candles versus none. If you're using price action as trading, you can't use Ashis because you don't see much of gaps or anything, right? And if you're using Ashis, I like 15 minutes for trends, right? To see what is really happening. Typically, when you break consolidations like you do in 15 minutes, you know, like these, when you get a nice break, they typically tend to hold, for me at least, in Ashis and historical, and I used to use them a lot more. And now you see that they're slowing down, and you know, if they can get back inside this consolidation that they were in, see that they're trying to get back inside a little bit now. So if they do, it would probably target the top again here. But they keep you in a trade much longer. Here's your 1 minute, for instance.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So let's see, from here, you know, the black to here. And if you go on regulars, like you see how you had a red candle in here. Like some people would have freaked out on that. Oh man, I didn't make a higher high, right? This one never really flinched. It was all black the whole time.
They're good for trends. Okay.
Exactly. They're really trend momentum candles. That's what some people call them. You can't use it on price actions because there's no gaps and no true levels. Okay. Well, here's this. What am I?
Could you potentially use them on like a trend day to help
Of course. And I mean,
look for signs of weakness within the trend?
Yeah. And I mean, we have the trend bar. I don't know if you guys use it on Shorty, my Shorty targets. Yeah, I might have it. So here, if you guys open that Orbi with short targets, like you'll see it now. Maybe I have it already. Delete one. I think they have a limit on indicators now. So here's your orbs, right? So if you look at this, right, there's a little trend bar here that we use, right? And if you use this in Confluence for scalping with, let's say, with the orbs, let me hide this for a second. I'm just gonna, let me do this, but you try. Let's see this. So you're able to see here now. Pay attention to this, right? So if you usually go here, if you're using trend bar, I like 15 minutes again. Now pay attention to this trend bar here, the color of it. So for instance, you know, it's staying pretty much blue here until here. They're telling you here, hey, be careful, there's shit going on. And then they started selling off. Whenever you have candles on top and bottom, that means you're consolidating, you're pressing for a move, right? And we know based on, you know, price action, lower highs plus lower, you know, higher lows, that means consolidating. And usually if you're above this trend bar like you are here, it's pretty good, right? And here, you know, as soon as you close below the trend bar, that's where you get out on the long. If you got in on this, let's say, long here, you had, did it ever come close to cracking this trend bar?
No.
No. Once it cracked it, close it. So, I mean, you're talking about ES, let's say 60 to 53.34 in 15 minutes, right? And usually the 15-minute, you know, candles like these and arrows are good. If you want to be more sharp, use higher time frame. And here's your 30 minutes, right? So now you zoom out a little bit and look where the 30 minutes had pretty much double arrows. And I think there's a new like there's a momentum trend bar that you're seeing here. You can use in confluence both of them and you'll see, right? Unless you crack below both, then you close the trade. And here you're coming from the bottom and there's a short signal. Usually these should offer a pullback of some sort or some kind of reaction, right? And you can manage your stop losses right where the candle is, right? You could put it slightly above the candle that indicated long or short and go from there. Like this one here, I mean, then you have this one here, you went down. If you put it here, you probably would have been stopped on this candle here. You had some opportunity, I guess, for profits, but that's not why you're using 30-minute. You would expect more than, I don't know, 10 points. So it's not 100% bulletproof, like nothing is in the market. But if you're looking to be more systematic on trends and staying within the trend, that's pretty good. Usually on dailies, right, for swings, if you look at this is pretty good, right? I would say they rarely miss. Here you had on October double, here you had a single. Usually if you can use both of these in combo and find something like this one is not trending higher. Let's say if you print a lower, you would have double on top, trend bar, and then you crack this trend bar together. Let's say 52.36 in this case. You could expect a decent pullback, right? You can't really find the level where you get out. It's just to keep you in the trend higher or lower, right? It's not really a level tool. It's more of a stay in a trend tool.
And this was the Shorty orbit.
Yeah, this is my Shorty pivots, and then you'll have these orbs that come up as well. And you guys should have all these indicators. You guys get to keep them. So when you look at the market for tomorrow, I guess I'll just give you guys something to think about here before we hop off. I just want to make sure you guys are following. This was our previous all-time high. Too many boxes came. Path means just me being lazy, means previous all-time high. If you look at this, right, we're kind of trading above it, right? We're going above, we're going below. So when you think about this, right, you're in a 3-day balance, right? So let me make sure. Lord. So here's your 3-day balance. And as of right now, is there anything indicating, giving you a level of where we can potentially split the value? Careful how I'm asking you a question. It's at what point would you say, okay, we're looking for lower prices? We've talked about this. This is one of my favorite setups. And
Between those single prints or below those single prints?
Isn't this where I was screaming long on Friday?
Yeah.
So we came right to the split, right? And we obviously bounced nicely from there, about 30 points or so. And you have a compressed P. I do not like compressed P for a continuation to the upside. Right? Do you guys remember that class? If you're going to talk about profile shapes, which one is
Wasn't it like 2 or 3 weeks ago?
What, the class?
That you were talking about compressed P and how it's gonna be bearish, or it's bearish.
I said it's not as bullish as a longer elongated P because if you're not spending time here, that means you want the prices higher. Advantageous prices are here. When you have a compressed P, but you have not been able to push the price higher, that's concerning. That means you either met some sellers, right? Because you're not able to, or not enough aggressive buyers are in the area. So usually they can pull from this, they can pull some traps on the bulls. That's what I watch for when I have this. And now if you look at, for instance, on the upside for tomorrow, I wouldn't want to be long until we crack this, let's say 53.27. You guys know why? Look at the profiles and look what is it telling you. I'm just trying to teach you how to dissect this. So here's your basically one thick ES chart coming up. Why this level?
Single prints.
Okay. So here's your end period, right? See this? See, let's split this. Is there a spike anywhere here? Where's the spike?
Yeah, it is a spice base, I guess.
Is this the spike base?
Yes.
Yes.
And then the spike ends here. So if tomorrow we open above this, right? Oh, sorry. Sometimes drawing tool works. Sometimes if you come here, right, this is what you're looking for. So for me, it makes sense that let's see how we respond. If we open in between, what are the odds we're going to open within 3 points of this? Statistically very low. But if they open above it, you don't have nothing to short. Right? I mean, is there opportunity to take profits, right? You're talking about 14 points here, and this would be a really good play. Catch this and go, and I mean, not much to wonder about. You just made 14 points. Even if you have one contract, that's quite a bit of money, right? So that's kind of, on volume profile or market profile, whatever you guys are using, you have to dissect it in such a way where you zoom in and zoom out on different time frames and see what is happening. So here I'm looking clearly 3-day balance. Tomorrow's open will be important. Let's say we open below this value tomorrow. Or if we open below, let's say this previous all-time high, that would indicate, right, that they are maybe a little bit more bearish and that they're rejecting right here. So if they're rejecting this value or accepting today's value, then know that, most likely they're going to auction to 16. And if they come all the way on the bottom, where would you expect to see buyers?
Those single prints.
Yeah, you wouldn't anticipate
Excessive low, right?
Yeah.
The buying too.
Remember that earlier I said you want to use that 50% as your friend. So if you're going on 11 as a long, let's say a tap, you're playing fairly aggressive. You go on a tap here, well, you have to put your stop loss somewhere below here, right? So you're giving them how many points? So you're giving them 3 points.
3,
right?
4.
Let's say something like this. You're giving them 3 points, and then you could target potentially all the way on the value area high, and that'd be 4 to 1. If you're not happy with this, you could definitely manage to POC, but I think your reward would not be 2.5. So I guess not a bad on a small range like this. A lot of you guys, I think, where you get messed up in trading is you give them 3 points here, and you're expecting this. I mean, if this was the stock market that it worked like this, for every 3 points you caught 10 times, we would all be billionaires. Right? Your targets have to be realistic, right? If I wanted this trade to work out, well, then I might have to give them something like this, right? If I'm going long here, then I have to give them a lot more space. But then when I look at the picture of this, is there a chance that this works out somewhere even like this? Like right here? Yeah, there's a chance, right? As long as these bulls start defending this value, meaning that we are accepting the upper distribution of this run, right? If we crack below this level, what does that tell you? Well, most likely, I would say they have some single prints here, and they will probably go all the way to the bottom here where they have a gap. I think it was 75, 74. 74.25, right? So they will potentially fill this gap all the way, and then you see here, we had a poor high, and then they had some major levels of split again here. So I would, watch this zone as well here, because this was our previous 3-day balance, and then we popped. I would say it's probably fairly easy for tomorrow, see what we do, right? We either going to lose this value where we bounced, right? If we open below path, previous all-time high chance of 6 points down. They can come all the way to 11, which might be a decent level to buy. Should you care more about single prints and consolidating markets or trending markets?
Trending.
That's correct. Why?
It's showing the aggression of the trend.
Or a stop, right?
Yeah.
If you're going down and then a massive this, and there's a lot of single prints, that means price was really good for somebody. When you're having a lot of, let's say in the market that we're in right now, like if you look at a lot of single prints in a balancing market, they don't mean as much. Does that make sense? to me, this single print here is not as important as if we had, you know, above previous all-time high. You see this is our previous all-time high on this day here. You know, this was a pretty good, I would say, you know, you want to watch out for this level just from psychological level. This is where the other time frame level, I'm sorry, other time frame participant came in. Pay attention to what happened the next day right here. We opened right below that level, correct? And where did we close?
Below it.
We closed below it. So that, to me, this access high is much more important than this access low, because I want access points to be above or below major support zones. I mean, what is 550, 300? How big of a support is this? I wouldn't be able to tell you, right? But I know, for instance, the previous all-time high level is fairly important, right? That it's much bigger than 5,300 in terms of level itself. Like maybe this is a psych level. There was a little bit of division of value on this day up, but then you're not able to close above this level 2 days in a row now. So maybe once they absorb this guy, they're going to probably tap this. And I don't know, there's not a lot of access here in a D period. Most likely they target the seller here. It's just not very aggressive. And do you know, what did I say about D period? You guys remember? Why is D period?
So when Europe closes?
The euro closes on D period, so it's not bad to pay attention to see what the D period does. In this case, what did the D period do?
Sold off.
Sell off.
So D period came all the way down. I mean, you basically created, in my context of trading, this is a poor high. They came back all the way to C, and then you see how they basically broke that with the F period, and they continued, you know, down a little bit more here, KL, and they switched value here quite a bit, right? You see A period was, if you're thinking about orbs, opening range for 30 minutes. They traded in here on the orb high, they fell inside, weakness showed, and then they cracked that, right? Below, lower lows, and then you see here, right? And they had the M period that basically spiked from the J period, and you see how we responded to there. Once you reclaimed the J period, which was very close to the previous all-time high, look what they did. They basically, they spiked, right? So you just kind of have to look at this in terms of what is really happening. Are they accepting prices here? Obviously they're not. And I do not care too much of single prints and consolidation, like 3 days, 2 days. They don't mean much. And on the next market profile class, I'm working on a PowerPoint. Finally figured out how to add the watermarks and PDF, so don't laugh. It took me 4 weeks. And I'm expecting to get the audio tapes here from the legacy box, the company I'm using for conversion of the class and market profile. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to those tapes again, and I'm going to attach the audio tapes to the slides on market profile so you guys can hear directly from the guy that invented the market profile to your class. So as I'm talking about spikes, you're going to also listen to him talk about spikes to CBO floor traders in 1980s. And I don't think there's a better way for you guys to pick that up. You'll have the visual and explanation of what he's talking about with the PowerPoint and examples. And that's what I intend to create for you guys as a market profile all inclusive. So that's kind of what I'm working in the back end for you guys to put that together.
Thank you.
And if you don't like market profile from this, then you should probably give up on market profile, just being honest with you guys. Some people say don't ever give up, but if you're spending a lot of time and you're not picking it up with a lot of visuals, a lot of trainings, either you're not committed or focused, or maybe you should stick to golfing or I don't know, some other activity. It's ludicrous to do the same thing over and over and not see any progress, right? Okay. All right, guys. Well, I think this is pretty good stopping point. Hopefully you guys learn more a little bit of clouds. Hopefully I get these tapes. You know, I've been emailing them back and forth now for 3 months. And then we will have basically an intro class to market and all the way. It'll probably be the longest market profile class we've had. and it would be from A to Z on market.
Let's
profile.
go. It's exciting, honestly.
I'm excited, honestly, because from market profile, I think it would be probably the best material we could put out. When you have a guy that actually conducts the trading for the floor traders, that came up with the idea of putting graphical view of market and representation of time. He was the first guy that came up with the idea, put the time spent at a level, right? We know about volume, but like time was a different component that's part of the equation for value. I think it's very powerful, and you guys see it when you're trading. If you understand market profile, how well it works.
So, Shorty, did you go to Peter's class in person? That's why you get paid?
No.
Oh, I see.
I did not. No.
He just knows some people.
But yeah, if you're connected well enough, you can.
Gotcha.
Get to them.
That's cool.
That's why we tell Shorty to make the call, man. On the end of the day.
No, that's Burnside. If he's not drunk during the end of the day.
I'm not drunk. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your Sunday. I'll see you guys tonight at 9 for a final kind of readout. And if you guys have time, put the plan together yourself and see how close is it to majority, right? And see what are you guys thinking on how do we open, where do we open? Put the plan. What is your pivot above, below? What is your bias, right? That's important that you guys start developing that on your own.
Thank you, Shorty.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Shorty.
you, Shorty.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, too.